Hi.
Can you guys hear me?
Try again.
There we go. I saw Leslie nodding her head. Thank you. All right. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Doing all right.
Right on. Sorry, it would have been on a little bit earlier. Apparently, I needed to update my Zoom copy on my computer here.
I'm surprised mine is working. It never
Yeah,
does.
it's
So,
always fingers crossed.
yep. Yeah.
You guys look good and clear, and I can hear you good. You can hear me?
I
Mhm.
can. Yep.
Awesome.
I might get a call in the middle, just FYI that I might have to jump for, but
Okay.
yep.
Right on. Well, I know that we don't have Molly, if anything, maybe at the end of the meeting, she said. Um, and I don't know that I heard back from Andy. I'm going to double check here, but Nick is good. And yeah, I think, yeah, Nick is going to be able to make it. Didn't hear from Andy yet. So we'll hang tight for a couple minutes. Doug, are you done gallivanting around the country for the month?
I don't know. I'm done vacationing for a while.
Are you?
Yes, we're home. We don't have any place to go for quite a while.
Right on.
So it's nice to be home, but
Yeah.
it's nice to be goofing off with grandkids too. So
Yeah, right on. Yeah, Leslie, Doug and I got a chance to download. We we went to New York City, and I think I'm still tired from that. You know, we've been back for just about 2 weeks now, but it still feels a little bit exhausted. Just
it's it always amazes me when we get back and I look at
this
my
week.
Fitbit and I'm thinking I'm tired. And now you look and you think, oh God, I walked 25,000 steps today. No wonder.
That was us for sure. That was us for sure. We did a lot of walking, a lot of subwaying,
Yeah.
a little bit of expensive lifting.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was well worth it. Like, oh, do we
Yeah.
want to get a lift? Well, that's going to be $60 to get back to where we're going. But it's like, man, so certain times it's just like that is money well spent.
End of the day, that's money well spent. Earlier in the day, yeah, we'll take the walk across the Brooklyn Bridge.
Hmm. We did that. Hey, Nick,
Hey there.
Ah, good.
How's it
ever
going?
so subtly. Are you gaming at the same time that you're meeting with us?
No, this is my work headset.
Ah, okay.
Um, I can definitely use it for gaming, but
Sweet.
not this time.
Well, we'll understand if you're about to rack up an all-time high score.
I'm actually enjoying this beautiful night. I'm outside, as you can see.
That's
This is
just
not
me.
a fake Zoom
I
background.
was gonna ask,
I
yeah.
yeah, I couldn't tell.
Yep, it's real.
It is very nice. I'm actually gonna open up my window next to me here.
I would do that, but then you'd hear a lot of barking dogs that I'd have to mute. Maybe you wouldn't hear it. I would mute it. I still might have to, but
You have some neighbor dogs that keep on going?
No, when I open the windows, they hear many more sounds that are
Oh, your
intriguing,
dogs would be
and
barking.
so they they indicate that they find that stimulating.
Yeah. They bark until it stops, and then that teaches them to bark
No,
anytime they want it to
I
stop.
made it. I made it stop.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We got
Yeah.
Andy that just joined us. So let's jump into it. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let's see. Okay. That's not what I want to share, though. Back. This might be getting goofy on me because I have a split screen here. All right.
Looks like a pathology slide I saw when I was in school. Let's see, what part of the skin growth is that?
That is not what I have on my screen. I'm not sure what coral reef that is. Can everybody see that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. I'm going to just click on to this meeting minutes from May. Major kudos go to Leslie for submitting her meeting minutes. And then I combined that with mine and came up with what you see before you. So we'll just kind of scan this for a minute or two and then move along. Probably most important here is the date for our next meeting. Our next neighborhood meeting will indeed be the 16th at 7 as previously scheduled. Thank you, Leslie, for taking us through that exercise of scheduling. Then it seemed like most everybody was in agreement to have the 18th as a backup. Are we still good with that, or does anyone have any concerns about that?
That works for me.
Um, I don't know exactly what that looks like, other than if in the days leading up, it looks like it's going to be a thunderous mess. Then we'll look at Thursday as an option. If Thursday is a thunderous mess, do we want to keep on postponing, or do we want to maybe shrink the size and scope of our meeting to potentially fit in a space? Or we could push it back or keep on pushing it along the calendar as well. Any thoughts on that?
I would say let's kind of keep it. My preference would be like let keep it within the week rather than like trying to keep finding good weather or whatever. Like sometimes I think you gotta.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Everybody feeling comfortable with that?
What would be the indoor location, you think?
We would need to see, and pretty soon here, if the rec center would be open. That would kind of shrink what we want to do, but if it's raining, I think people would understand.
There would be probably less people coming.
Less people coming, yeah. Less people eager for ice cream, maybe. And we can also play the ice cream piece by ear. Thankfully we won't, based on our previous meeting, we're not going to hire a vendor to supply the ice cream. So we could pull the plug on that if we're seeing that both days have bad weather. Or we could keep going with it and just maybe buy less. How do we feel about that latter option? Keep going, even if there's bad weather, have it indoors and maybe purchase less ice cream since we're
I think that's a good
advertising it.
idea.
Sound good?
That works for me.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So you can see what the discussion was to not enlist the food vendor. We'll utilize upwards of the same amount for both a cooler, a large cooler. We had priced out at right around $100. I think it was $110. And then upwards of $400 for the treats themselves. I think that's going to buy way more than we possibly could have mouths to feed. So it's likely that it will be probably closer to 300. So kind of going down into the business, you can see what we talked about there. Any concerns as we look through that? Nick, I think I still need to get you Casey's info at the Parker Skyview building.
Oh, you know what? I talked to her on the phone the other day, Thomas,
You
and
did? Okay.
she was trying to fill out the National Night Out form, but couldn't find it on the website. Does that even exist yet?
That does not exist yet. It's in the process of coming into existence.
Okay, that's
I'm
kind of what
making
I
a
thought.
Google form.
And then she told me, and this is always tough to talk about like old storage formats, but she told me that she had CDs with pictures from past years that she wanted your help displaying on a projector.
Oh, my understanding is she just wanted audio equipment, but she also wants the projector.
Well, I think even more complicated than that is that she has pictures on CDs.
Oh, awesome.
So that is no easy feat. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know.
I mean, yeah, computers don't have CD-ROMs anymore.
As long as they're not on floppy disks, that's all I ask.
I don't know if you have a computer that has a CD drive in it.
I know.
I haven't for at least like 12
Five,
years.
10
So
years, yeah.
we might be able to do a service there and maybe transfer them to the cloud, or I could lend her my PS4. But
Yeah.
who knows what we could make happen here.
I do still have a CD device that hooks up by USB. So could possibly do her a solid and get those onto like you say, a cloud or a thumb drive or something.
Yeah, thumb drive would be the way to go, huh?
Yeah. Um, yeah, okay. I'll get in touch with Casey and see. We'll just get a little bit more of a lowdown on what exactly she's wanting.
The other
We
thing I
also
took away
have
from the conversation is that she thinks you and I are the same person.
oh, nice. Okay.
So just
So do I.
just know that.
I used to get that all the time with Robert because we were kind of doing some of the similar things, but now it's you.
I guess so.
So I'll touch base with her. We have a projector that was kind of prior to our whole AV extravaganza. It was just a very basic projector. So maybe that's something that we could lend for that situation because it's more of a quote cheaper option rather than I think our projectors that we have now are like $500 each, maybe actually more. I think they're like $900. That aside, I'll get in touch with Casey. And talk about the projector and audio needs. Only if she volunteers for the board, though.
Yeah.
What do you think it's going to take to get this pre-application live? Just reviewing it tonight?
Yeah, I just wanted to show you guys real briefly. Actually, it wasn't part of my plan here, but I just put it on the screen here to show kind of what the general feel is. Going to be pretty simple. First name, last name, email address, phone, physical address. I had a thought that we should avoid someone just having their own party. And that we should likely have 5, maybe 10 neighbors that sign on. I'm not exactly sure. I haven't come to a resolution on what that looks like. But maybe it's just neighbor and a phone number, and then we can call and verify. Um, any thoughts on that, or if that's maybe not a concern? Maybe I'm chasing worry.
I think that is a little bit of a chasing worry situation. I think a selfie of the block party would be a good way to verify it.
Yeah, if it's literally just a selfie, then no reimbursement.
Right. Like you have to show yourself and your neighbors,
Okay.
and then maybe bonus points for having your street sign in there. Something like that. But I think that's a little easier than getting other neighbors to sign up onto a form or something like that. If we can just do it
Yeah.
the night of.
Okay. So yeah, that should be able to come to a conclusion between tomorrow and Friday. Just a friendly reminder that I work on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
So
Um,
on this form, the pre-application form, does it have the block, the neighborhood? You know, so if it's someone from my neighborhood, where do they put that?
yeah, no, I hadn't I don't have that yet, but that is a good notion. That way we know. I mean, aside from their physical address, we know generally
Yeah,
what part of our neighborhood we're serving.
So, Doug, how would you want that formatted? Do you want to say something like the 27th block of Polk or something
yeah,
like
that's
that?
good enough for
Inter
the
intersection. Yeah.
area of the party or where the party's going to be located at. Or they could block off a street and just say that, the 2700 block of Polk. That'd be great. I think something to give us a general idea of where it's at.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Probably
And then
location of the event.
Yes.
what sort of promotion do we expect back from them, or what do we need back from them? Like, for instance, do they have to say, "Hey, everybody, just wanted to give a big thank you to the WPCIA" or something like that? Or
Mm,
what are they what are the requirements that they promote us or give us credit for the money?
hmm None so far, but definitely open to suggestions. Yeah.
This will be after our board campaign, but we'll probably still be looking for board members. So that would be a great opportunity for us to raise the profile somehow.
hmm Um, do we want to ask, if they should have a social media presence of their own to promote us somehow that way? What do you think,
That's
Nick?
good.
What do you have in mind?
No, that's a good to get their handle or their social.
Some people, especially these days, will not have one. So that's
Um, Side note, do we have a Instagram up and running, Thomas?
we
Or I know
do
you.
as of 2 days ago.
Ooh.
Nice.
It has officially been added. Yeah. Um, I won't get it right now, but I'll send out the handle to you guys.
Is there a general, if you scroll down, is there a general
No, this
I
is
have a
it right
toddler.
here.
Um we've got bedtime in the corner and happening. I don't know if you hear that or not. Maybe just like a notes, an open-ended one where they can leave, like
So,
even if it says anything else, question mark, or um, question, concerns,
mhm,
etc. Leave leave that here.
sure. Okay. Nick, did that kind of satisfy what you were kind of questioning?
Yeah, I think this is actually something that we can follow up with them about after they register.
Yeah.
So get
But
the info and don't worry
well,
about
I'm
the.
talking about something different now, Andy. But like the like what did they have to do on the day of um to promote the WPCIA to their block?
Yeah.
And so at the party, do we expect them to hand out a brochure to every guest
Yeah.
and say, hey, this party was partially funded by your neighborhood organization. Read this pamphlet. You're going to find some opportunities to volunteer in there, something like that. I think that'd be a great opportunity for us.
Yeah, I like that as you're saying that through again, that maybe it's just something simple like a postcard from us that as they get approved for reimbursement, future reimbursement, then we send them or drop off, 10, 20, 25 postcards.
Good idea.
The other thing that I think is really critical here is these people who are going to be signing up on this thing are probably going to be the leaders of the block, formal or informal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that could be a really valuable data source for us as we think about organizing the community in the future.
Right.
Good point.
Okay. I'm just taking a couple notes here. Postcard. Okay. The postcard could also be something that they print out. That might put a little bit more onus on them without too much financial burden. Okay.
And there are rules that say they can't spend it on alcohol, right? They can't. Maybe we need to add that
Correct.
to this. Is that on the form?
Yeah. So,
Aha. Okay.
yeah.
I think in this case, we probably need a list of things that you can't spend it on as well. This is like a very positive, you can spend it on orange juice, but you also cannot spend it on
Yeah.
Yeah,
Grand
it
Marnier.
just one line that says, please note that no
We can't-
funds can go to alcoholic beverages or similar
illicit drugs.
similar substances or something.
Don't spend it on Molly. Sorry,
and that is to say
not
that
Molly,
our funds cannot be spent on those things, but beer is allowed at National Night Out, right? I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
yeah,
This is Northeast Minneapolis. It's got to be.
yeah, I don't think there's any restriction that way, although it's historically tied in with public safety, police, so forth, kind of a promotion of community and policing partnerships. Certainly has grown away from that as well. Okay, I'll go ahead and send this a draft of this out to you guys, and then if there's any other thoughts, we can jump on it there. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay. And then just kind of rounding out the meeting minutes from May. Take a look there. Molly and Nick and I stayed a little bit later and closed it out. Okay. 1 second while I get our next. Sorry, this is not wanting to play fair. Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay. Okay, staff update. I'm going to keep this super quick. So limit yourself to important questions, I guess, not to qualify that too much. We got about a little over 10,000 in our checking. 7,500 of that is going to is scheduled to be paid out tomorrow to the Pillsbury PTO treasurer Jeff Grains. We have $758 in the savings, which we are keeping separate from our checking. As a reminder, that is for Taylor Street Gardens. They use that towards water, mulch, recycling, garbage services, and so forth, and is added to by their membership dues. So we received 7,500 from the city. Also received another almost 3,000 for admin reimbursement just a couple days ago. And then you can see some of the recent activity. Any questions? Okay, hearing no questions, we'll move on to our future meetings. This is similar to what I had for last month, but just seeing that we are kind of rotating some folks that weren't there last month, I did want to have eyeballs on it again. So for July, we'll talk about that in a moment, but I just want to bump up to September and November, what we just very tentatively talked about. Leslie, Nick, remind me, excuse me, if there were other considerations that I didn't represent here from our conversation. But talked about National Preparedness Month. This is September, so maybe using that as a theme for our meeting in September. The Red Cross has a Sound the Alarm program event every kind of spring and fall. And so in September, they'll have the Sound the Alarm event where they provide smoke alarm installations. Smoke alarms are free, and then the installation is free. So that might be an option for us to kind of just get folks prepared and avoid fire as one of the potential disasters, and then also connect on other potential disasters like flood, pandemic, hate to say, wind, other climate change effect issues. We talked about November potentially diving into climate change as well. Nick and Molly and I met at Pillar Cafe and met up with their owner, Corey. He's been doing a really great job of not only bringing a great music venue to the neighborhood, but also really encouraging a conversation around climate change and how we can discuss adaptations to it here in our neighborhood. Nick and Leslie, anything that I'm forgetting that we touched on there in terms of other additional considerations for the September and November?
Not that I can recall, no. That's
Okay. Nick, Andy, Doug, other thoughts?
I like the September. I think that's really a smart to follow National Preparedness Month. It's a really good idea. The city should have something to be able to help people with how do you what we should be doing. Yeah, our biggest risk is probably a tornado. So what are we doing to protect ourselves, and what should we have in our homes to protect us? And then in addition, what is the city doing? I think that's really a good idea.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be opportunity for us to really connect with the city, with their emergency management division, Hennepin County as well. And I'm sure they'll have suggestions about other things that we can tackle in that meeting.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of the location of the meetings? I feel like for the general public, I wonder if the attendance goes down when we have them in the Parker Skyview. I don't know if it's as approachable as the community center,
The rec center.
rec center.
What do we
It's
think on
definitely
that?
less central in our neighborhood, that's for sure. Also, I think the parking situation is a little unknown, and sometimes the door can be locked at Parker
Yeah.
Skyview, where it's like you're not quite sure whether you're allowed to be there.
And then you need to go through the building. It's kind of, you have to be very dedicated to want to attend. Whereas the other one seems like more of a, oh, I know where that building is. I can walk there. I know we gave that group, we wanted to give them an olive branch, so to speak, and let them, get access to that and whatnot. But we've had a few meetings there in a row, and I just think that the non-resident attendance is not very high when we have there.
The resident, like Wyndham Park resident attendance, you're saying?
Or the non building resident. Like I think it's
Oh.
mostly people in the building that go
Gotcha.
to the meeting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we should
I know.
have our meeting that is in the, like a middle of winter meeting at park at the Parkview, Skyview, be where at the center there. All the other ones at Wyndham Park, summer one outside. Because I completely agree with you. But I do think it's nice to have one there, and maybe when the weather's the crappiest, that'd be a good time to do it because nobody from there is coming to anywhere else. And everybody's getting in their cars and trying to go somewhere. So no one's walking to Wyndham Park when it's, the dead of winter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure part of the thinking was that people in Parker Skyview have mobility issues, and they're also renters and seniors, which are kind of some
Mhm.
underrepresented populations in this
Correct.
board. So I think there's a lot of good reason to continue to have it there. I like the summer winter thing. That seems like a good balance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What were you going to say, Leslie?
Yeah, I like the compromise because I basically just what you said. Like there are good reasons to reach those people, but yeah, it does seem to come a little bit at the cost of it's like one of those tough
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
It is indeed difficult because, like you say, we're trying to reach additional populations within our community, which I think that checks that box. However, it seems to be just far enough that regular attendees that we've had in the past don't travel down to Central, whether that's just discomfort, unfamiliarity, um, desire to be closer. I'm not sure. We've certainly promoted the meetings more than we have ever, I think, to include flyers and the signage boards out on Central, and more electronic digital promotion as well. So it's not for a lack of getting the word out, although I'm quite certain we could do better on that too. There's room for improvement. So yeah, how are we feeling about the suggestion to maybe, I guess one thing I have a little bit of hesitation about is one reason we moved away from the rec center is just the size of the room is not good for us. And we never did hear back from both the rec center director, Lou, and the Pillsbury principal as to whether we could use the gym. Sounds like that's maybe a possibility, but it would require a little bit of advanced forecasting or scheduling. So
We would have like half more of that room at the rec center without all the AV equipment.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like if we didn't put up all the screens and the two cameras, there
Which is an
would be more
option.
for
Which is
seats.
which is an option. We
Yeah.
talked about that last meeting, and that should definitely stay on the table. We've invested a lot, both time, energy, and finance, but that
Yeah.
should never be the reason that we continue going forward with something, especially if we feel like it's not working optimally. So yeah, that room without the equipment, pretty satisfactory. Doesn't pull in some of the crowd from Central Avenue, either in the Parker Skyview or just more of the rental units that are closer to Central there. But definitely seems to pull in more of the central, like Nick said, the center of the neighborhood.
And you know what else I'll say is I actually think a smaller space that's more right sized is good because it kind of forces you to meet your neighbors a little bit more.
Yeah.
That Parker Skyview space is so large that people can kind of spread out, you know, hide in plain sight, and you just don't get the same conviviality.
Yeah, a little bit less connection.
Nice word.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Andy. I saw you grin on that one.
Throw in the $10 word, yeah. So I think leaving last meeting where we kind of landed, maybe just because we had spent a fair amount of time talking about it, was that we would try to see the AV portion of our meetings through the end of the year. But again, I think if we're not wanting to pursue that, I think that should be a decision that we concertedly make, you know. Does anybody have any particular feelings one way or the other?
I'd like to see us do September, November at the rec center, but try to decrease the footprint that we have for our current AV equipment. See if there's a better way to kind of arrange things, better way to use the rooms, put things up on, I don't know, somewhere to get more chairs in and less tables. You know, just maybe we can look at that before we, and then if nothing works, then we can talk about do we continue or not? Because we also have to figure out how many people use, tune in, when we have a meeting. Nobody's doing it, then we don't keep projecting, but
Right.
if we get a half a dozen people if we have a half a dozen people that are watching at home and then a dozen at the meeting, well, then we probably have to keep doing it. Just have to see.
It does seem like the only people that are zooming in are the ones that want to yell at Elliot Payne for some
True.
reason.
That's true.
Like
Easier to yell
we're-
when you're not in person.
we're not a city council forum necessarily, I mean,
Yeah.
not a area grievances with Elliot
Yeah.
Payne meeting.
Yeah.
Those are
Nope.
definitely the loudest people that are zooming
They're the-
in. But
yes,
I have also noticed that some of our
They're-
guests really like to zoom in, like from
That's
Metro Mobility. And last time the passcode was a kind of a snafu. So I think we should, if we continue to offer Zoom, I think people are going to continue to use it, especially on those winter nights.
Yeah.
true. There was a fairly large contingent like in the winter meetings.
Yeah, and I think, we've chatted about it too, that we still maybe have some room for growth on how we bill our meetings. Obviously the Starbucks meeting was very successful because we, like Nick has said recently, had kind of there was a negative framing of a topic that was meaningful to people, either pro or against. And so people turned out that way. So, and that framing of and billing of those meetings probably needs to happen better, regardless of whether it's in person at Parker Skyview Rec Center or virtual. We need better turnout. That being said, I do want to point out that there are a lot of our neighborhood brethren that are really happy when they have 10 to 15 people show up. And kind of like astounded at some of our numbers in the past. So that's something to keep in mind. It's hard these days. There's just a slow slide away from civic engagement. You all are abnormal in a good way. So maybe to kind of round this out, do we want to try for September in the rec center?
Yes.
Or are we considering that bad weather month? I typically think of September as a good weather month. But do we want
That
to
should be at the rec center.
go for September in the rec center?
Mhm.
I'm seeing Doug nodding, Andy nodding, Nick and Leslie. Okay. We'll go for the rec center.
And I think it'd be really great to offer folks, once we figure it out, some consistency there. Like if we were to say November through May, we're uh at Parker Skyview, and then June through September we're at the rec center, something like that, so people can, get a sense of it. But I like this policy generally.
Okay. The policy of good months, weather-wise in the rec center, bad months weather-wise in the Parker Skyview. Do I have that right?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. One moment while I'm finishing writing here. Okay. And Doug, I got your idea captured here of a little bit less stuff in the rec center. See if we can minimize our footprint.
Yeah, Thomas, I think that there's a couple takeaways there. Do we want to, I mean, this is a couple meetings off, so maybe it's not a focus right now, but we want to do some testing, maybe get together and do some testing on what, we talked about disintegrating these systems so that the sound system is separate from the video system, is separate from the, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And then figure out what it would look like to run with one screen and one camera rather than two screens and two cameras. And how many computers are you running today? Two computers?
For the meetings?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I wonder if we could get it down to one computer.
Yeah. One for my right hand and one for my left hand.
Right. And then I think the other thing we discussed is giving people roles where like someone really is the video person, someone really is the sound person, and someone really is the computer Zoom meeting and slide, management person. I think if we could just split up that work a little bit, because what I think is a real struggle in those meetings is, Thomas, you're the focal point of this organization in so many ways. And when you have to click all the buttons and know where the mouse is and know how all the systems connect, it kind of takes you out of the spotlight.
Yeah. Right.
So I think the more we can actually free you up to be the face, and someone else can manage the techie stuff, that would be ideal.
Well, and two, getting back to Leslie's point, let's look at September and November and keep it in mind that maybe we don't move forward with it. It's still in an experiment. It seems to have proven itself a little bit, but it doesn't mean that we have to keep doing it. So, but I agree with you. Let's see if we can desegregate it and work on a couple different roles, maybe 2 or 3 different roles within the coordination of it logistically. Anything else we want to add? Okay. All right. So going back to this coming month of July, we will have the meeting on July 16th from 7 to 8:30. Rain date will be the 18th on Thursday. I'll be working on creating some signage. One of them is the ice cream options so that people know what to select. Also considering different tasks, we'll need a moderator for that meeting. Since we won't have AV equipment, I'm happy to be that. If anyone is itching to do that, let me know. We'll need to take tickets like we did last year for the treats, and encourage people to sign up for our mass emails. I don't want to make that part of the requirement, like you get a ticket if you sign up for emails. Is everybody okay with that? I'm thinking that's maybe just not very transparent, and also there'll be a lot of kids, so we're not going to take kids' emails either. The elections will have some note taking. We'll want to have any pre-approved nominations on a document or a flipboard, and then there may be night of nominations as well that we'll want to have recorded. And then we'll have the discussion. Sorry, here we want to have the discussion about the campaign recruitment campaign. But before we jump on to another document that Molly and Nick and I created, anything just more logistically for the meeting that we feel task-wise or activity-wise that we want to add here? The last meeting, we also talked about, our last board meeting, we talked about having a bouncy house, renting one. We talked about buying one as well, just because we have funds that could be applied to that, but maybe doing a little bit of a test to see if that's something people are into for our meetings. Now that we have a little bit of a bigger group, do we want to keep moving forward with that?
What's the liability of a bouncy house from a neighborhood group like ours?
That's a good question. I don't have an answer. Typically, I think there has been a bouncy house involved in some Wyndham Park activities like this, but it's typically been the property of the Park and Rec. At some point, they got rid of theirs. They had 2 of them, and we haven't done that since. So obviously, they were taking on the liability at those times. I don't know what that would look like for us, though. If it's on park property, perhaps it's park liability, especially if they approve of it. Any thoughts on that?
I think there's an
Thoughts about
additional
whether we-
liability that is, what if the bouncy house is broken? You know, people are jumping in there with their car keys in their pockets or whatever. To me, I think the bouncy house is too risky and too complex. One of the great things about Wyndham Park is there is a big playground. There's a lot of stuff you can do. So keeping kids busy at Wyndham Park isn't that tough. I'd say no bouncy house if it was up to me.
Okay. Andy, Leslie, Doug?
Sorry if you hear my dog chewing.
Not at all.
He's got a bone. I mean, I don't like him, but I'm no fun anyway, so I don't. Yeah, so I definitely like don't feel strongly for. But if other people like him, I try not to judge him or anything.
If we got one, you would not be participating.
I wouldn't be on there. But yeah, I mean, the safety concerns I think are real. But I also don't have any data to draw from because I stay off of the things.
Andy, your thoughts?
I'm with the group here. I don't need. I won't argue for bounce house.
Okay, let's do away with the bouncy house. I think Molly would be okay with that based on our last discussions, and seemed like she was. I think she was in favor of it, but not drastically so. So let's scratch that, and then I'm going to bring in our other document here. Here we go. Everybody see that okay? 2024 board member recruitment campaign. Okay. So objectives are to promote the election, first of all, of 6 to 8 new board members. We are putting a pretty high number there, unless we have disagreement here, so that we have more bodies to fill the needs of our projects and programs, then B, have more potential for people to assume officer roles and board positions as others expire. Other roles expire, not people die. But so any thoughts on that, Doug and Andy? That might be a little bit new to you. Any concerns?
No,
Okay.
Good to me.
Identify and recruiting the qualified candidates for the open board positions, increasing the diversity of the board, all diversity metrics, ensuring the board has the skills needed to oversee our organization. Audience here would be the BIPOC community, especially renter community. We don't, especially since Sita left us. She was kind of our lone renter for a while. And then individuals that are qualified, and the Wyndham Park and larger Northeast Minneapolis organizations, households, businesses. Why we're thinking of Northeast Minneapolis is because there may be people that don't necessarily live here, but work here, and they would be eligible as board members. Any questions on any of that? Do not hesitate to interrupt me. Develop a recruitment campaign, which is what we're doing here, promoting the campaign throughout the community, and then selecting the most qualified candidates and creating an onboarding process, partly based on the document that Robert created, which I don't have in front of me right now. But we do have a very general board member duties and responsibilities document. And as far as tactics go, there'd be an outreach campaign that includes the emails, Facebook posts, now Instagram posts as well, flyers, letters to organizations. And I think one thing I didn't include here, Nick, that we talked about was letters to individuals as well. So we talked a little bit about kind of headhunting, quote.
That's your next
people.
black bullet there, Thomas.
What's that?
Your next black bullet is headhunting individuals. So you
Oh,
did include
hey,
it
thank
here.
you. Thank you. I did put it in there. And then, of course, on the website, and unfortunately, Northeaster, an ad in the Northeaster, the opportunity has come and gone, so that's not an option for us. Headhunting, as we talked about. Molly brought up the idea of DIY yard signs, just posting a document or a flyer on a yard sign and then putting them where we want them, especially in the rental properties. Hosting an informal session so that if someone hears about this and is interested, offering a time, a date that they can meet up with us. We talked about a couple different locations, Nick. I don't think we landed on whether we were going to do one or two, but we did talk about not wanting to just have it only be at, say, a brewery, which would get more folks like ourselves, versus Nick, you had brought up Holy
Football
Land.
pizza.
Football pizza. Yeah, that's what it was.
And I only did football pizza because it's actually in our neighborhood, whereas Holy
Yes.
Land is technically in Audubon Park.
Audubon Park. Yep.
But yeah, I think two events. One at gosh, do we have a brewery in our neighborhood? I don't think we do.
We do not.
Okay, well,
I'm of the personal opinion, I don't think we need to worry
Right.
about that. I think we don't have a brewery and we don't have a ton of restaurants in our on the central portion of Wyndham Park. And I don't think anyone's going to hold us against it, hold it against us.
right.
But anytime we can, I think we should support the ones that are in our neighborhood. So maybe looking at one, maybe Fair State. We've had a board meeting there that seemed to go well. and then another at Football Pizza. Football Pizza does have a fair amount of space that is often open because I think they get a lot of takeout, but their seating seems to be fairly well spaced out and open the times that I'm in there. Anyways, any thoughts on that? Okay.
If they're willing to have us, we'd have to ask. 'Cause we're just gonna be sitting at a table occupying space for, we'll be there for a while.
Mhm. Mhm.
I think we need to get permission.
Would we, I'm just thinking off the cuff here, would we want to offer food for that type of meeting?
Yeah, food and tea
Food and tea?
on us.
Okay. Everybody feeling good about that? Okay with that? That will need to get run through the city to get confirmation about it, about using those funds for that purpose. That's usually fairly quick, so I can do that this week. Do we want to dedicate any suggestion on how much food monies that we want to dedicate? I have here that we have about $1,400 in food and beverage monies.
I would think $50 a meeting is probably enough. That's a pizza and a few drinks. I don't know.
A pizza at Football Pizza is like $26. And you can feed quite a few people with one of those. So if we were to get a couple folks showing up, I think one pizza would be enough, but it would take about $60 to get us two pizzas.
Do we want to say like 100 so that we have a couple pizzas and some tea and other drinks that they offer?
Yeah, I think that sounds good. You
Okay.
okay with that, Doug?
Yeah.
You're the one with the purse strings here.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
$100 it is. I'll request that from the city. Okay. So that again would be for the kind of onboarding, or excuse me, informational session.
So Thomas, are you thinking two events each for $100?
Oh gosh, yeah, I wasn't thinking that ahead. I would lean that way. Yeah.
Okay.
Any disagreement?
That's good.
Okay. 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 And then, I don't know how many people would take us up on this, but we could offer one-on-one meetings through staff at our office, provide onboarding materials that we talked about. We then talked on Saturday, Nick and Molly and I, about the why. Nick was bringing up a really good idea that problem statements that are intentionally negative, framed in a negative way to draw interest, draw action, are a little bit more successful than kind of the rosy and cheery statements. Both get some people, but negative statements tend to get more. So kind of a call to action is what Nick was suggesting. And then how does that specifically relay into our 2040 goals? We were using the reducing disparities as an example, and brought up a few different potential projects. And I don't know that we need to confirm these projects here tonight, but just as an example, the Twin Cities garden property, which is in terrible disrepair, getting boarded up, trash and debris all over, oftentimes not mowed, oftentimes not snow removal, ragweed in the Wyndham Park. Nick, do you want to speak to that suggestion real quick?
The ragweed one.
Yeah. Just
Yeah,
as a-
so here's an example of what I'm talking about. We have our 4 strategic pillars, one of which is like a healthy, clean environment in our neighborhood. I think we can all get excited about that. But when we apply a negative frame, we have to ask ourselves, what makes our neighborhood unhealthy? What makes it polluted? What makes it unclean? Right.
Mhm.
And a lot of us suffer from seasonal allergies. And so the thought was we could start a campaign to eliminate ragweed, raise awareness of what it looks like, and help people pick it and get rid of it in their yards just through awareness and kind of a concerted effort. If you know what it looks like, you'll see it growing everywhere in Winham Park.
Mhm.
And that's in the park itself and on the sidewalks and in the yards all around it. So that's the sort of thing that I think we could do. It's just an example, but I think the point
Right.
here is if we can get organized around a couple big whys, and Thomas, you kind of glossed over the activity at the annual meeting, which is separate, because by then we'll hopefully have gotten all these board members. But one thing I'd like to do is create kind of a listening session where we collect these problem statements from the neighborhood. So,
Mhm.
what are the disparities in our neighborhood? One of our strategic pillars is complete neighborhoods. We'll ask folks what makes our neighborhood incomplete. What's missing? You know, they might say, "Oh, we don't have a brewery, or we don't have a good restaurant, or there's no patio to hang out in at the park." That kind of thing.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, getting people, I think, energized around some of these pet projects and then saying, we have money. We can spend money on solving these problems in our neighborhood if you join the board.
Yeah, I think I missed the
Well, you had that on the last one. You had that on the last page. Are you talking about missing the tables that collect those
um
problems?
no, just that we have money. The
Oh
uh
yeah, that's
yeah, I
that's
think
key.
that's maybe on the minutes from last month, but um yeah, I think that's something I've seen offered by other neighborhood associations, that here's our budget, here's how much money we have to spend, here's the thousands of dollars in our funding stream. Come get involved. Like people can like a little bit more closely imagine what their what their energy and involvement would go towards. Um, Thank you for kind of building that out a little bit more, Nick. So knowing that we're kind of thinking of this in two kind of tandem ways. One being that we want people to get involved. We want to promote people's involvement in advance of this meeting, at the same time that at the meeting itself and future meetings, September, November, we want to ask for more input. Do we want to kind of list these suggestions, or anything else we have tonight, in order to get juices flowing for the annual meeting, for people to consider becoming board members?
Yeah, I think this is all terrific. I think we need to go um a step. We don't have much time
Nope.
between now and the board meeting and now and July 8th. I think we need to get, you know, you have on the list here, stuff on Facebook, blast email. I think those probably have to go out starting this week.
Yep.
So I like the idea of, having a different question or a different problem. Or something with each email that goes out, and try to get people and then encourage them come to, the first you could say come on July 8th to, have some pizza and talk about a neighborhood organization and
July
specifically about
16th.
the board with the neighborhood organization. And then have a different, after July 8th, we send out another email or on July 8th, whatever, and change our Facebook page. So it's a little bit different tactic we use and try to get people to come to the 12th. And then we have to change it again, try to invite people on the 16th. So there probably has to be multiple emails, which you noted on there already, multiple Facebook campaigns, or just different thoughts. Not even a campaign, just a thought to stick in on each one.
Mhm.
The other thing I was gonna do is, I don't know about in who we want to directly recruit. My suggestion is going to be, why don't we write letters to everyone, or as many people do we have a name, address, a name and an address to, that have gotten any kind of money from us, whether it's for a garden, whether it was for a Ring doorbell, whether it's for an energy audit, whatever. Yeah, because those are all people that have used our services in the past. And I would be happy to write a letter to all of them. Well, I
Mhm.
mean, I would write one letter, it would go to all of them. Let me reframe. I'm not writing a bunch, but I don't even know
You're
if we have
volunteering for
addresses.
hundreds of handwritten letters, is what you're
Yeah,
saying?
I don't even know if we have addresses, but I can write something. So we have one note, so they're gonna get that, they'll get an email. These same people will also get an email. If they go to the Facebook, they'll be able to see something there. Some sort of concerted campaign, but it's gotta start probably this week.
Mhm. Yeah, I like that, Doug. I mean, those are folks that are using our resources, um, likely a little bit more civically engaged.
Yeah,
They're tuned in to what's happening in their community. So there's a better chance that they might want to get involved.
yeah.
Yeah.
But if you have addresses or emails of those people, just let me send them to me, or however you want to do it. I'd probably have to go walk down to the office. We could kind of figure that out together, but I'll write a letter to go out to them.
So we don't have, so we have record of requests that have been made, especially for the home security rebates, but we don't have them like in a spreadsheet. So that'll be a little bit, I don't want to say tedious, but it'll be a little bit more effort to go into that. But I think it could very well be worth it. Get a name and an address,
Yeah,
name and an email. And then, yeah, I think that's one facet of, trying to reach out to the entire community for sure. Let's see. And I just wanted to correct you, Doug, that the the annual meeting will be on July 16th. The 8th through the 12th is when we were thinking of the informational session.
yes, yeah,
Okay.
but that's soon.
Yes.
We're really compressed, so that's why I'm thinking we got to go now.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Agreed. How do we feel about, we just have three examples here, but we also have our new programs, the National Night Out funding, the Rain Barrel funding. So that gives us a good handful that we could reference, even if they're not um, fully confirmed. How do we feel about using those in our promotions of board recruitment? Or do we want to add others to the mix here as well?
Yeah, maybe we could just quickly say, so Doug, what are some of the missing things in our neighborhood in your mind?
I like the idea of the rain barrels and say, hey, if you're interested in climate change, let's do something about it. And, come on, let's have a campaign for rain barrels and ask somebody, do you want to get involved in improving your neighborhood through getting rain barrels in as many houses as we can. So I think though
Sure.
there's a tremendous amount of water loss that
Mm-hmm.
we need to collect, we need to stop.
Thomas, you want to just take notes on these?
Yep, I got it.
Oh, okay. I was thinking you'd take them in there, but if you're taking them on a different paper, that's fine.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. I'm a faster writer than I am a typer.
okay. And so, Doug, then what you said rain barrels is one of your pet projects. Any other problems in the neighborhood that you're here to solve as a board member? What are your pet projects?
I think the most important thing that we do is our community meetings where we bring people together.
Okay.
That's the most important thing because the most important thing we do is bring people just like us, bring people together that otherwise I would never have met any of you. So that's the most important thing we do,
Okay, great.
is bring people together.
So Leslie, how about you? What are some of the problems in our neighborhood that you are motivated to be on the board for?
I think I gotta go with Doug on this one, that the coming together is a big reason um for me. In part, sometimes I think like I'm not super good at seeing how the smaller version of changes that we can do contribute to other things I care about, like climate change and stuff like that. But
Let me prompt you a little bit. You are a dog lover
I am, yes.
and a dog walker. Are there issues around that do you think would be helped by the neighborhood? You and your husband Eli are coordinate runs as well. Are there
Yeah.
are there ways that the neighborhood could benefit from? I don't know. We've talked about having runs before. I just
Yeah.
want to, prompt you with the things that you are personally interested in as well. And Andy,
Yeah.
you're next.
Um, that's a good prompt, Thomas. I think there might be something there with like the running or getting together for stuff like that. When you're talking about dogs, I was like, well, it'd be great if nobody else would walk their dog from like 5:30 to 6 so that my dogs wouldn't bark at them while we're walking. But that's like it in direct opposition to what I just said about like bringing people together. So
One thing as you were talking there, I'm just remembering Nick's wife, Christine, mentioned something while we were meeting on Saturday, that there wasn't dog poop bags at Wyndham Park.
Yeah.
And so we were like, hey, we should do something about that. I don't know if that's something you've noticed before.
We bring our own, but it's always
Yeah.
nice to have them there. Yeah, I'm trying. I feel like when we lived somewhere, there was, and like they're just constantly like taken, or I mean, hopefully used,
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of times, they're
Just
taken
run dry.
in larger qualities than any one dog could do in one park visit.
Right. Right.
But yeah, but kind of, so what if people are picking up after their dogs, that's not good, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah, that could be a somewhat easily implementable thing.
And I'll ask this too, and Nick, if you wanted to jump back in, let me know. Leslie and Andy, what about Central? Are there things particularly on Central that grate you, or that you think are good, but there aren't enough of? One thing that bothers me, I'll just fill in the gap here and say that there's an empty space on Lowry and Central, and it's been empty for
Yeah.
I don't know how long as I've been here, I think. So at least 10 years. And it just would be nice to be using that space somehow, some way, even if it's not an actual development.
Like a building that's empty, or
There's an
like a
empty
lot.
lot right on, there's a mural right there of vegetables and things.
Okay, trying to picture it.
On Central and Lowry, um, uh, right across from Subway.
Okay.
And then the same next to the Ecuadorian restaurant. There's an empty lot, and I just think it'd be wonderful if we, as a community, found ways to use that space. But that all being said, me talking some more. What, Andy, Leslie, Doug, Nick, if you
I
have other
think there was
suggestions.
rumors that or something about that being a park or a public space or something a while back,
Which one?
but that empty lot there at Lowry and Central, I thought it was going to be something, but obviously it's not. I was gonna say, you bring up Central is a good point, because I'm never really focused on that, because maybe it's because I live across from the park, but the reason I join and the ways I think about it is just the park improvements, and like I think the resurfacing of the courts is a good thing to hang our hat on, and just this
Yeah.
organization is so honestly relatively flush with money compared to other organizations like this. And I think that's a big selling point for the board member initiative is like, help us. We have this money. You need to help us decide what to do with it. Like it costs a lot to do the courts and the park department, you know, that's not high on their priority. But if we have all this money, we can get that stuff done a lot sooner.
So we have money, help us use it, and you know, like you say, hang your hat on the courts and look at we're doing something that some of the other parks aren't getting because of our advocacy.
And another big one, similar to what Doug said about the meetings, is the usual when he's there, just getting face-to-face time with Elliot Payne, I think is a who knows. I mean, we can't really promise that he's not part of the organization, but you know, that's pretty rare unless I assume if he has some sort of well, he's great, so he's having coffees and stuff with people, but it's one way to you know get face-to-face meetings with people.
And when he was double booked that one time and I reached out to his staff seemed like super eager to have somebody there, you know, like I think it's some like
there's some sort of representation.
Yeah.
Liam
like
was great. Like it. Nick, you were the one that provided some examples in our Saturday meeting, but do you have others that you know, just coming from this current discussion that are popping in your mind?
Yeah, you know, I think I have a toddler and I've got another one on the way, so just reducing the possibility that they're going to get hit by a car. I see that as the single most dangerous thing in our neighborhood. My mother-in-law is really afraid of crime. I'm really afraid of cars. And so anything we can do to work on that is great. Johnson just got, you know, redone, and in many ways it's beautiful, but the boulevards are just a big pile of weeds. And we were talking with Molly about that, and I guess the contractor kind of didn't fulfill the contract, but it feels like an opportunity for the neighborhood organization to step in and say, you know, we're gonna garden these public spaces. And one of the things that Molly pointed out, you know, she lives right there, is that it's not a safe place to be. You could get hit by a car when you're gardening.
Yeah, and
so
she and others like her on Johnson are responsible for that boulevard,
right,
legally.
And so, you know, whether that's supporting them with a day where we put cones out or whatever, but then also thinking about what we might do after Lowry reconstruction, where there will be similar large boulevards, and we want to make sure that we get it right this time and don't let them become big piles of weeds. Things like that, you know. I would also love to see some more programming in the park that is kind of more hyper local. So like pickup games that everybody knows they can go play some soccer, go play some frisbee, something like that, go play some basketball. Those sorts of things I think could be really awesome. So
maybe have some kind of festivity around it as well. Maybe there's drinks or food or music or DJs or something. Yeah,
totally. So I think the one other thing that we talked about, Thomas, that I'd love to get this group's perspective on is shifting from a little postcard to a folded brochure sort of thing as we get the word out here. Did you get a chance to talk to the printer about that?
No, I haven't yet, but that's on my list. And just to kind of flush out what Nick's talking about, we typically are doing I think it's 5x8 postcard. You guys get it in the mail, so you know it. But what Logan Park does is, if you can imagine an 11x17 piece of paper folded once in half and then folded again in half vertically, and they basically use every inch of that to promote any of their programs, any news that's going on. meeting dates, and it's just a lot of surface, a lot of real estate to kind of get out our message and some of these things that we're talking about right now, for example. So the idea would be maybe move away from the postcards, which are fairly expensive, towards a towards more of a letter format, or what would you say, Nick? Something that can be printed on an 8.5, 11 by 17, and then folded and tabbed. So not really sure. There should be some cost savings there, but not entirely sure. It seems likely given the cost of the postcards.
I would
And
say the difference in experience from the reader's perspective, the current postcard feels very much like an event that you're being invited to.
Mhm.
The Logan Park one, I think, is called the Logan Ledger.
Yeah.
And it has like kind of a catalog feel where you can see all the different programs that Logan Park is offering. So they had, in our case, it would be a quick section on the Raid and Barrels, a quick section on the security rebates, a quick section on the low interest loans. And so you don't need to go to our website to get that info. You don't need to attend the meeting to get the info, and all that stuff is right there. They also had, a lot of space to deal with more seasonal things. So in this case, it would be our board campaign. And Molly and I agreed to collaborate on all the content here. We'd love any of y'all's help as well. But I think we could fill it up. We would just need to get approval on the expense and get a print date that we can hit.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I'm happy to help with that too, Nick. And I think, yeah, it's a good point where it's like the postcard keeps coming and coming, and you keep getting those in your mail, and you're not showing up to the event. We kind of got to mix it up a little bit, and maybe it's just a kind of a print piece that is just our brochure. Well, I don't know how it worked with the address label, but this can also be a thing that sits at tables wherever we are. Like it's just that same, it's our intro brochure. It's the easy skim it and you know what we're about.
You get a
Not
feeling for what we're up
overloaded
to.
with what's that?
Get a feeling for what we're up to.
Yeah, exactly. It's just that someone comes up and talks to Thomas, you don't need to, and you're juggling multiple things. You don't need to give them the full pitch. Be like, we do some things for the neighborhood, check this brochure out. I think it'd be valuable to just have those on.
So this is the only thing that I can find for the Logan Ledger, and I'm pretty sure that's not what you're talking about, Nick, right? Everybody see that there? Okay.
No, not that one.
That is my joke falling flat. Sorry. Okay.
That's great. I was just on mute.
Okay.
It was a good joke.
Thank you. Recovered. Any other, so that gives us some ideas of things we want to kind of like throw out as teasers, as well as ways to actually throw them out. Anything else that we want to toss out there? And again, these don't have to be confirmed and approved and voted on. We can just say, these are some examples of things that we are talking about. And with your help, we could take these steps further. Or if you have other suggestions, we're open ears. So other thoughts on things we want to include on that? Okay. Let's see here. I'm going to go back to our agenda.
So Thomas, what the end time for this meeting was 8:30, right? We're right at 8:30 now.
Yeah.
What else do you need from us? What are the critical things you need from us to make progress on this?
Well, I think we do want to potentially use some of our funds, as we're looking here at ad funds and print funds. So the ad funds is what we've tabbed as the place where we would get our website funding. But there's still, as we can see, plenty there. So if there's ways that we feel strongly about using some ad funds, whether it's Facebook postings, Facebook ads, meta ads,
I can tell you from experience, we are only probably going to spend less than $100 on Facebook ads. It's extremely difficult to spend money hyper locally on Facebook. It's like a penny per impression. And so if you're spending $100, that's 10,000 impressions. So we're really going to struggle to spend a lot of money that way.
Yep.
But
Agreed.
we talked about throwing up signs on at businesses, on telephone poles, things like that. That seems like a place where we really could spend some money. Yard signs.
Yeah. Color prints add up pretty quickly. Not that our goal is to spend the money, but we have that available to us. So we're comfortable spending a little chunk of money there.
Are there any billboards in Northeast? Like Chris Lindahl billboards we could take over for a week or two?
Nick's really into the guerrilla marketing, so I think he'd be willing to go up there and kind of paint over his buy your home billboards.
People would go nuts for that.
I like the idea of using the print funds to do a newsletter / pamphlet, like Nick was saying. I think that'd be a really good use of those funds. I think if I don't want to get us too off. I'd rather see us just focus on updating our website with the ad funds. And
Okay.
just once we get that done, then move on to the next, because those are all great ideas, including the, let's paint over Chris Lindahl. That might be my favorite one of all those. But I think we need to just knock one thing off at a time. And the pamphlet newsletter is a fantastic idea. That'd be wonderful. And they may use a chunk of those print funds.
And I'll just say that we have these print funds, but then we also still have a retainer with our print and mail house with $7,000 in it. And that's after our May postcard. So again,
Wow.
we'll see, if we do go ahead and move forward with this Logan Ledger idea, that could, oops, just lost my screen. That could utilize some of that funds as well, but we have plenty of print funds, is I guess the message I'm trying to convey. Okay, so what do we think about using upwards of $500 in print funds for anything from flyers to posters to leaflets? I'm just kind of speaking off the cuff here. And upwards of $200 for ads, whether that's on Facebook or maybe even some sort of print media other than the Northeaster. So again, $500 from print, $200 from ads. Sorry, I wasn't looking at the gallery here. How are folks feeling about that?
What's it cost to send out a postcard?
For the nonprofit rate, it is about $900. No, scratch that. $1,300. And I guess I'm looking at that as a separate use of our retainer fund.
Okay. And we're planning on sending out a postcard or maybe this newsletter kind of thing before the annual meeting, correct?
Yes. Yep.
So then what you're asking for right now is above and beyond that, like flyers and other things we print out. Okay.
Correct.
Well, I am all for spending, what did you say, like $1,400 in total on that kind of thing?
So for the postcard or Logan Ledger, that would be approximately $1,300, almost $1,400. And I'm suggesting to use some of these print funds on the screen here, upwards of 500 for printing posters, flyers, leaflets. And upwards of $200 for ads, however defined.
Yep.
I so move.
Okay. Okay. Excuse me, do we have a second? Excuse
I
me.
second. Sorry. Yeah, I
Sorry,
second.
just had a little hiccup there. Okay, so Nick moved. Leslie second. Any discussion? And how about a vote? What do folks like?
Aye.
Got an aye from Doug, from
Aye.
Les,
Aye.
all approved. Okay. Motion passes. Okay, so we got that. To further answer your question, Nick, I think that's the main thing is just approving the money, as well as approving some funds to be used for food, both for the what are we calling it here? Informational sessions. I think we talked about $200, as well as the annual meeting itself.
So
So
I
we-
can make that motion. I'm gonna move
Okay.
that we, spend $200 for our two board recruitment sessions, $100 each, and $500 for food at our annual meeting.
Do we have anyone that wants to second that?
Second.
Okay. And any discussion? Hearing no discussion. Are we all in favor of the $200 board recruitment and $500 annual meeting expenditures?
Aye.
Aye.
Hands raised, heads nods. Okay, motion passes. Okay. All right, we are over time
Yeah.
and
Well, thank you, everybody.
Yeah,
Thomas,
we hit everything.
I'm gonna text you on probably Friday morning. Maybe I can walk over to the office with you and try to get some addresses. Like I'll have a letter written by then and we can kind of talk about how to get it out.
Okay, that sounds good. Thanks, Doug. Appreciate that. Anything else from anybody else? And I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved. Okay, second.
Second.
Nick seconds. Beat you to it, Leslie.
Ah, dang it.
And how about a vote? We agree to adjourn?
Yep.
Yeah.
Motion passes. Okay.
Aye.
All right, folks. Thanks for your time and energies. Really appreciate it. Send me any notices with any other ideas that pop up in your mind. Take care. Adios.
Take care, all.
Thanks,
Bye,
y'all.
everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Thanks.